fiberglass, 2-inch strips, 3-inch strips. So I got to thinking, I wanted to put the strips, fiberglass, on the inside here of the bulkhead, rather than the outside. The reason I want to do that is because you're going to see the seams, even how smooth I make them. You're going to see the bumps and stuff, and I thought it would look more aesthetic if it was on the inside. That's what I was thinking. But then I got to thinking that if you look at a piece of fiberglass, let me see if I can set this down here. Look at a piece of fiberglass. This one's woven. It's horizontal, has strength horizontally, has strength vertically, like that. But it doesn't have any strength pushing in. It just crumples up. So I got to thinking, if I put this on the inside and it's bent like that, and I get pressure coming from this direction, it's just going to kind of fold up. Whereas if I had it on the outside and I got pressure going the other direction, it would hold it tight. I don't know if that's true. It's just kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking I'll put this on the outside. I could be completely wrong. And now that I say this all out loud. Alright, so like I said, for what I've learned after the first fiberglassing was when I make the epoxy up, I add a lot of the silica. I had to go out and get a huge bottle, especially since I got the bottom to do of the silica. So, and this is the colloidal silica. So it's good for fillets and stuff. So anyway, I'm going to mix that in, make it not quite like peanut butter, more like ketchup maybe, just enough so that on any angles it won't drip as easily. It'll kind of stay in place when I put it on. So anyway, let me get mixed up my stuff, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I don't think I've shown any videos of me actually making the epoxy because it's very exciting. So here it is. Here it is, just stirring away, and there's the silica, and I'll start spooning some of that in to make it thick, like I said. And remember to bring a piece of wax paper? Of course not. So now, what am I going to do with this stick? Hey, so you should always keep wax paper, because then if not, you end up doing what I'm doing, which is this right here. Hoping it stays on, and $20 says it doesn't. I knock it on the ground and I end up having to wet this board out. Man, this epoxy is really warm. Of course, I did mix up like 7 squirts. So I figured I'm tired of going back, making more. Making the epoxy is the most irritating part of this whole thing. Yes, me. I realize nobody's asking me, but I'm just telling you. So, good news, good and bad news. First, good news, I went ahead and finished fiberglassing the corners I talked about on the outside. Pretty straightforward, just epoxy, and just kind of got them wetted out and everything. So, just done with that. The other part is a little more disturbing. So, as I'm leaning over to get the boat's rocking back and forth. It's just resting on pillows right now. So, you can pull it over, you can push it. It's just resting. And apparently what happened, I'm not quite sure when, somewhere in the past couple of weeks, when I was closing the garage door, apparently the boat had shifted forward, and I broke off the front end of my boat. So it actually went out to about here, and there's some pieces of it on the ground, and I just found out about it. Really irritating. So now I guess, it's not that big of a deal, because it only came out to about here. But it was pointy. It was so cool. Now I'm going to have to shave this off and just flatten it. Really, really disgusting. But anyway, good part is this is all done. So I'll let this dry, and I'll come down to sand it. And then what I'll do is I'm going to anchor down my how are they called, knee braces. So I'll put those in, I'll fiberglass those in, and then I'll put these guys in. I'm thinking I probably shouldn't epoxy them in place. So I might do something else, like do some type of, what's it, a 5200 or something. So, I don't know, I'll have to see about that. Anyway. Alright, this is difficult. So in full disclosure, like I said I was going to do up front, any mistakes I make. So, there, where I was putting these in, right? So I have these all braced. These are my knee braces, these guys right here, to help support the transom, because I'm going to put a 25 horsepower instead of a 20 horsepower. So it was the knee braces to help the transom, to help disperse the load. Yeah, so let's go back a little while. And when I installed the bulkheads, I did like a good little boy, I went ahead and put fillets in all the crevices to make everything round. Because, you know, like I'm supposed to, so I did that. Yeah, well, so what's happened is, if you can see that right there, it's a little hard to get in there. That's probably good right there. The fillet that I created right there is actually pushing this guy out from the because this all fit perfectly when I was mocking things up. And of course now there's got a good half-inch gap because of the fillet, and also because of the fiberglass down below. So I have this fiberglass which is coming up, and I have the fillet here which is pushing things out, which results in that damn gap right there. So I obviously shouldn't have put the fillet in. So on this side, what I went ahead and did, I don't know if you can see that, how you can see that, but I went ahead and put a shim in there, and he is pretty much epoxied in place. And then what I'll do is, once everything dries, there's still a little bit of gap there. Once everything dries, I'm going to come in here with more epoxy, a thickened epoxy, and start cramming it in there. Really irritating. But I have to get the epoxy in there to make sure I do the transfer of pressure from the transom to the knee brace. So the fillets really did me in on this one. But too late now. I didn't really realize it till after I had everything set and locked down. I was like, oh my god, it's not meeting up, because it met up on my mocks. When I built the thing out, it met perfectly. Of course, so there's been a lot of changes since then. So anyway, once everything dries, once it all dries, and I cut down the fiberglass, and I remove all the braces here and all my braces, I remove everything out. I'll go ahead and see what I can do about them. But look up here, I'm really my fiberglass has gotten really good. I mean, look at that. That looks, at least to me, it looks really good. So I'm pleased with that. Anyway, talk to you soon. So just one thing I'm just going to point out. Hopefully you can see my face. If not, you know, not as handsome as I used to be, I guess. But anyway, so the boat's a plywood boat, right? God, more epoxy. Holy God. All right. Well, anyway, it's a wood boat, plywood boat. I'm willing to bet there's more ounce for ounce, pound for pound. There's more epoxy than wood now, which is fine, absolutely fine. But on my boat, like I said, I think you all saw it. When all the pieces were apart, when I had everything lying just lying around, I epoxied everything, just thin epoxy, and laid it on, including the edges, especially the edges, all the edges. And then I think if you saw an earlier video, once I got everything put together, or once I got the hull put back together, the transom put on, I epoxied it all again. So the dog just had a heart attack. My old here they come. My old 4x8. That's my old deck for the boat was sitting on that right there for several months while I was cutting it up. That was the board everything was resting on. Yeah, and they didn't take too kindly to that thing just coming down because it's kind of windy here today. But anyway, so I just want to point that out. I got, like, I think I mentioned to somebody, one of the folks y'all watched the video, that I had used 3 gallons of epoxy on this.